The Lawyers for Yes group is a group of solicitors and barristers who have come together to campaign for a yes vote in the marriage equality referendum. Our simple position is that the law of this country, and the fundamental law of the country being the Constitution, should catch up with the lives of Irish people. We want to acknowledge that for too long, gay and lesbian citizens have suffered isolation and oppression in this country. We want to state that no longer should same-sex couples be denied the status and advantages of marriage. Gay and lesbian citizens are entitled to full recognition of their identity and their humanity. Same-sex couples are entitled to full constitutional recognition of their long-term relationships on an equal basis to opposite-sex couples.
This is an equality and civil rights matter. The right to marry is universally recognised as one of those personal rights that is essential to the pursuit of happiness, and it's a right most of people take for granted. This straightforward amendment to the Constitution will insert 17 words. Marriage may be contracted in accordance with law by two persons without distinction as to their sex. It's a good and simple amendment, and it extends the right to marry to a category of our citizens to whom it's currently denied. And insofar as anyone is suggesting that gay people can exercise the right to marry because they can marry someone of the opposite gender, let's put that to bed here and now. For the right to marry to be meaningful, realistic, and consistent with human dignity, it must mean being able to marry the person you love. And for gay people, that means being able to marry someone of the same gender.
Sometimes equality isn't easy. It should be simple to treat others the way that we would like them to treat us. And if you just imagine that you had met the person that you wanted to spend the rest of your life with, and then you were told you couldn't marry, how would that feel?
The key characteristic of marriage, as understood by all our citizens and by the courts, is that it is a partnership based on consent given by both spouses, which establishes a unique and special lifelong relationship. And it's that loving, permanent commitment, and not, by the way, the potential to have children, that defines marriage. Society has an interest in recognising and supporting those committed and stable relationships. And extending the right to marry to same-sex couples, far from undermining the institution of marriage, strengthens it, and it reflects this esteem in which Irish society holds marriage. And it's exactly because of that esteem, and because of the constitutional protection which marriage has, that it is simply not good enough to say to gay people that they should be satisfied, that they should make do with civil partnership.
And what is the difference between civil partnership and marriage? The significant difference that I give an example to is the safeguards provisions. In separation and divorce cases, the courts have these safeguards where the court must be satisfied that there is no reasonable prospect of a reconciliation between the couple before they grant a separation or a divorce. And solicitors are obliged to tell their clients about counselling and mediation to try to help the couple. There's no such safeguards for civil partnership.
But it is important to understand that the lack of constitutional protection for civil partnerships means that a future legislature could amend or repeal civil partnership.
Marriage equality is just a fantastic opportunity for us as a nation to make it clear to all of our children that they are cherished. And there are two categories of children who are going to be particularly affected by this amendment. Of course, the first category are gay children who are listening to the terms of this debate and who will come to know whether or not they as individuals are going to be accepted by us as a society and not seen as in some way different to the rest of us. That's an incredibly important message, particularly to teens. The second category, of course, are the children of gay couples, because the amendment will give those children, or some of those children, an opportunity to be members of a constitutional family in the same way that other children of married couples are members of a constitutional family.
The reality is that gay people are parents. Now, today, that's not going to change. They have children. And the children of gay and lesbian parents are in a legally vulnerable position, particularly to their non-biological parent.
The No side have made much of the idea that every child deserves a mother and a father, and every child has a right to a mother and a father. In Ireland, as we all know, because it's part of our daily lives, there are families of every type. There are families being brought up by mums and dads, but there are also a whole cohort of people who are single parents who do a fantastic job. And this idea that we should have best families obviously gives rise to the notion that we might then have second best families. This is not a good thing for children. It's not a good thing to be communicating to children that they come from a second best family unit. Particularly, and if there is one thing that I have taken from the 35 years lawyering in the family law courts, it is that what the judges look for, what they are told by all of the experts without demur, is that children need a loving home. And in lawyer speak, a child absolutely has to have a bond of attachment with one adult. And if you have that, you will thrive and you will be able to cope, by and large, with the vicissitudes of life. It is already the case that single people, civilly partnered people, and married couples are going to be allowed to adopt under the provisions of the Adoption Act. That is not going to change if we vote for marriage equality. It'll simply mean that those couples can now marry instead of being civilly partnered.
The Constitution operates on a number of levels. It has huge significance as a symbolic statement of our values. But the Constitution is more than symbolic. It also operates on a practical level. And as practicing lawyers, day in, day out, we deal with how the Constitution affects people. And it's because of those practical effects that sometimes it becomes necessary to amend the Constitution. And this referendum will affect real people, real families, people in this room and beyond, across the river in the forecourts and across Ireland. Real people out there living their lives. And it is right that the Constitution be amended to catch up with their lives, to afford them, both symbolically and legally, the dignity and respect that flow from equality.
It is rare as a society, and it's rare as an electorate, that we get an opportunity to vote for a proposal that represents a historic extension of civil and human rights. We have a great opportunity on the 22nd of May to celebrate all of our diverse identities and to end the exclusion of same-sex couples from the institution of marriage.